I had my luggage packed and was getting ready to head out the door with my daughter for our vacation trip when a text came through on my phone. The message said I wouldn't be joining them on their Italian getaway. My son-in-law had decided he wanted this to be just a family holiday. They ended up taking only his mother and father along with them, leaving me at home by myself. This happened right after I had covered the costs for their brand new home, so I immediately stopped all the mortgage payments and put the house up for sale. You're going to be shocked when you hear what went down after they returned from their trip. Before we continue, please subscribe to stay updated on our latest stories. I was in my bedroom carefully folding up my go-to travel shirt when I heard my cell phone vibrating on the bedside table. The soft blue cotton material felt nice in my hands as I worked out the creases, already picturing myself wearing it to that cozy restaurant Celeste had discovered close to the Vatican. My travel bag was spread open across my bed like it was waiting for an adventure, already halfway packed with the outfits I had picked out, especially for our Italian trip. I had checked the weather forecast and it was showing clear, sunny conditions in Rome. Absolutely perfect for all those walking tours I had researched and printed out, then stuffed into my carry-on bag. While I was trying to decide between my brown leather dress shoes and my comfortable walking tennis shoes, I found myself quietly singing along to an old Frank Sinatra song. Our plane tickets to Leonardo da Vinci Airport were sitting right there on my nightstand beside my passport, both looking fresh and official, with just 4 hours left before we were supposed to take off. My chest had that familiar feeling you get before traveling, that mix of excitement and butterflies that always comes before a big trip. Then, my phone started buzzing again. I could see Celeste's name lighting up the screen. I put down the shirt I was holding and grabbed my phone, thinking she was probably calling with some last-minute flight information or maybe reminding me about where we were supposed to meet up at the airport. But what I read instead made my blood turn to ice water in my veins. The text said I would not be accompanying them to Italy. Her husband had decided it would be better if this vacation remained just for family members only. I read those words one time, then I read them again, and then a third time with my thumb just hanging there over the screen, like maybe if I stared at it long enough, the message might somehow change into something different. I was still holding that sweater I had been about to fold, and my brain was having trouble making sense of what I was looking at on that screen. Just family members only. Those words kept playing over and over in my head like a song stuck on repeat. But I was her father. I was the one who had planned out this entire trip. I was the one who had purchased all the airline tickets, spent hours researching the best restaurants, and created our whole travel schedule during all those late evening planning sessions at my kitchen table. What was supposed to make sense about family members only, when the person getting that message was your own dad? I dropped down onto the edge of my bed with the open suitcase still sitting there next to me. My hands were shaking just a little bit as I managed to type back the only thing I could think of to say. I just wrote back, okay. The disappointment felt like it was settling into my chest like a heavy rock. I looked around my bedroom and saw all the things I had gotten ready for a vacation that wasn't going to happen anymore. There were all those travel-sized bottles of shampoo and toothpaste lined up on top of my dresser. All those guidebooks were sitting there with their yellow sticky note bookmarks, marking all the places we had been planning to visit together. The brand new camera I had bought just for this vacation was still sitting in its original box, unopened. I closed up my suitcase, taking my time with each motion, being very deliberate about it. Every snap of those metal clasps echoed through the quiet bedroom with a sense of finality. Then I picked up my phone and called the airline, listening to that annoying hold music while I waited to speak with someone about canceling my reservation. The woman who helped me was nice about it and handled everything quickly and professionally. She said, "I'm really sorry to hear your plans changed, Mr. Brennan," and I found myself wondering if she could pick up on the disappointment that was probably obvious in my voice. After I hung up, I went and sat down in my living room, just staring at all those travel brochures that were spread out across my coffee table. The house seemed more empty than it usually did, quiet in a way that made my ears feel like they were ringing. From outside, I could hear Mrs. Holloway's dog barking at something off in the distance, that sharp, insistent sound cutting through the suburban quiet. I reached over and picked up one of those brochures. It was a shiny pamphlet all about Roman architecture, and I set it down on the side table next to my chair. It was a small, pointless gesture, but it was about all I could handle in that moment, when I was finally understanding that I had been very carefully and very intentionally excluded from their plans. When evening time rolled around, it brought with it the same quiet emptiness that had been filling up my house all day long. I had been moving around like a zombie through those hours, even leaving my dinner plates sitting dirty in the sink instead of washing them right away, like I always do. That packed suitcase was still sitting there by my bedroom door, constantly reminding me of all the plans that were never going to happen now. I had the television going in the living room, some evening news show that I wasn't really paying attention to. I kept picking up my phone for no real reason, just scrolling through random stuff, feeling restless, and making my fingers fidget against the screen. I figured maybe checking Facebook might help distract me from this empty feeling I had in my chest. I scrolled past Mrs. Fairbanks's pictures of her cat, some recipe posts from the ladies in my book club, and political stuff that I didn't feel like reading. The familiar blue light from the screen was actually kind of soothing in my living room as it was getting darker outside. That's when I spotted it. Darian's parents were standing right there in front of the Coliseum, both of them smiling big at the camera with that look tourists get when they've found the perfect spot for a photo. The caption underneath said, "Beginning of the best family vacation ever." The timestamp showed it had been posted just 2 hours earlier. My thumb stopped moving above the screen. Maybe they had taken a different trip, or maybe this was just an old picture they decided to post now. My heart started beating faster as I clicked on the profile to look at more pictures. And there it was. Same location, same time, but this photo had 4 people in it. Darian's parents, Darian and Celeste, all of them grouped together in front of some Roman cafe near the Trevi Fountain, with wine glasses sitting on the table behind them. Celeste had written a caption that made my stomach feel like it was falling through the floor. It said, "So grateful for family time in the Eternal City." I counted the faces in that photo with fingers that were starting to shake. 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. That word, family, felt like it was burning itself into my brain like a hot iron. I put the phone down on my coffee table with their happy faces still glowing up from the screen. I got up and walked over to my kitchen window, looking out at my neighbor's house where I could see warm lights shining from their windows. Families spending the evening together. The feeling of being betrayed hit me like ocean waves, with each one hitting harder than the one before it. I grabbed my phone once more, telling myself maybe I had gotten it wrong somehow. Maybe those pictures would show something different if I looked again. But there they were, still posted with recent timestamps, their faces still beaming with that carefree joy. All 4 of them together in that city I had been dreaming about visiting, enjoying the vacation I had put together, following the travel plan I had spent hours researching. I went back over to my kitchen window and caught sight of my own face looking back at me in the glass, pale and with dark circles under my eyes. Behind my reflection, I could still see their group picture glowing on my phone screen, their joy mixing with the image of me standing there alone. The difference between us was sharp and hurt to look at, like a picture that showed me exactly what my place was in their idea of what family meant. I had barely gotten any sleep at all, just lying there tossing around in bed while pictures of their vacation kept flashing through my mind every time I closed my eyes. When morning finally came with that dull gray light creeping in through my bedroom curtains, I knew I had to get some answers. I couldn't just let this go without finding out why this had happened. My coffee cup was trembling a little in my hands as I sat there at my kitchen table, going over in my head what I was going to say to Celeste. With the time difference, it was already afternoon over in Rome, which made it the perfect time to call. I took a long, deep breath and punched in her number, listening to that expensive sounding international ringtone. It rang 3 times, then 4 times. Then I heard her voice, sounding happy and upbeat. Hey there, Dad. I could hear all kinds of noise in the background. Darian talking, street sounds, all that busy atmosphere you get in an Italian city. I need to understand something, I said, getting right to the point. What's that? She sounded like she wasn't really paying attention, probably looking at some tourist attraction or store window. I saw those pictures on Facebook. Darian's mother and father are right there with you guys. There was a pause, and it went on for a long time. Then when she spoke again, her voice had changed and sounded like she was getting ready to defend herself. Dad, we can talk about this and explain everything. You told me it was just for family members only. So what does that make me then? Now her voice was getting colder. Listen, Darian said you can be too much to handle. He didn't want you messing up his vacation. That phrase, too much to handle, felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. Messing it up? I'm the one who planned this whole trip. I'm the one who bought all the tickets. And Darian's mother and father paid for their own way. They don't expect us to look after them all the time. All the time. Those words just hung there in the air between us like she was accusing me of something. I helped support you too when that was something you decided to do? She cut me off. We never asked you to make us feel guilty about it. I could hear Darian laughing about something completely different in the background. His voice sounded relaxed and like he had no idea what we were talking about. Hearing that sound made my teeth clench together. To be honest with you, Dad, Celeste kept going, and her voice was getting harder with every word she said. Darian was right about this. You need too much attention. My phone felt like it weighed a ton in my hand. I get it now. Good. We'll have a conversation when we get back home. I understand. I ended the call without saying goodbye. I put the phone down very carefully on the table. That phrase, need too much attention, kept repeating in my head like some kind of terrible song. I found myself walking to my home office, pulled there by some feeling I couldn't put a name to. Every wall was covered with family pictures. There was one of me teaching Celeste how to ride her bicycle, her college graduation ceremony picture, her wedding day when I walked her down that aisle with tears of happiness running down my face. My hands slowly closed into tight fists as I looked at all these images of a relationship I had apparently been completely wrong about. In one picture, I was holding baby Celeste, both of us smiling for the camera. My reflection in the glass showed an older man now, tougher looking, with something cold starting to grow behind his eyes. I reached out and adjusted the picture frame, making small, careful movements. That little action felt important somehow, like I was fixing more than just a crooked photograph. I stayed there in my office after that phone call, surrounded by all the proof of what I had thought was love, but was apparently just me being useful. Every single photo on that wall was telling a story I was only now starting to understand the right way. There was the wedding photo where I walked Celeste down the aisle. I had spent $42,000 on that day, making sure every detail was perfect because I wanted her to be happy. The college graduation picture was there too. I had taken care of her student loan payments when Darian couldn't find any work after his own graduation. The house hunting photos were spread out across my desk. I had co-signed their mortgage paperwork when the banks wouldn't give them approval on their own. Christmas photos showed all those expensive presents under trees that I had purchased. Birthday parties where my gifts got opened last, almost like they had forgotten about them. Every memory was adding more weight to my chest, a pressure that kept building up and made it hard to get enough air. I opened up my desk drawer and took out bank statements and receipts I had been keeping out of habit. The down payment money for their house, $95,000 that came out of my retirement savings. Money I had been putting away for my own future. Car payments I had taken over when Darian lost his first job. Credit card bills I had paid when they couldn't make their monthly payments. The vacation savings account I had been building up for years. Money that had ended up buying their plane tickets to Italy. But it wasn't only about the money. I started remembering all the plans I had canceled, all the things I had given up that went way deeper than just dollars and cents. That fishing trip with my old buddies that I called off because Celeste needed me to watch the kids. The lady from my book club who had asked me out to dinner, I had told her no because Celeste needed help with moving to their new place. My own travel dreams that I kept putting off over and over again while I was supporting theirs instead. Those Sunday dinners where Darian barely looked at me, holiday gatherings where I felt like an outsider, all the subtle ways he made me feel unwelcome while taking my financial support. The pattern was obvious now. I couldn't believe I'd missed it. My hands trembled as I flipped the photos face down. That phrase, need too much attention, kept repeating in my head. Suddenly, I understood the difference between being loved and being useful. They never wanted me in their lives. They wanted me to fund them. I jumped up so fast my chair hit the wall. The mirror showed someone who'd been used for years, someone who confused generosity with love and got manipulation back. The reflection showed a man who'd been patient and giving, repaid with betrayal. I opened my laptop, staring at my bank account where both Celeste and Darian had access. My finger hovered over the trackpad, one click from changing everything, but I closed it. The action hung suspended. Some decisions need planning, not impulse. I sat in my office's heavy silence. The closed laptop felt like a door I wasn't ready to open. Years of manipulation weighed on my shoulders as I stared at the overturned family photos. My quiet house held its breath, then my phone pinged with my banking app notification. I almost ignored it, expecting routine spam, but something made me check. Account alert, transaction processed. I opened the app, expecting a utility bill. Instead, the details hit like a punch. $892 Il Convivio restaurant, Rome, Italy. Timestamp 3 hours ago, their lunchtime. Celeste had used my authorized user card, emergency access I'd given her years ago when she was building credit. The irony burned. They excluded me from their family vacation, but used my money for fancy Roman meals. I scrolled through recent transactions with growing disbelief. Hotel charges, boutiques, attractions, all on my card, while Darian's parents supposedly paid their own way. I paced my office, phone clutched tight. Every family photo looked different now, like evidence. The thought formed clearly. This is my chance. I opened the card management section. Celeste's name sat in black letters, representing years of financial access granted from love, returned as manipulation. Another ping, 127 Elegant Style, Rome. She was shopping while I processed their betrayal. That decided it. My finger hovered over remove user. Years of being supportive warred with certainty that support and exploitation were different. The confirmation appeared. Are you sure? This cannot be undone. I selected yes. Authorized user access revoked. I felt my first real control in years. Foreign but satisfying. I set the phone down carefully, looking at my reflection in the dark screen. For the first time in days, I smiled. I went to make coffee, moving with more purpose than I'd felt since that devastating text. The coffee maker gurgled while my neighbor's lawnmower started, ordinary life continuing as my quiet revolution began. Next morning, I sat at my kitchen table, actually enjoying coffee for the first time in days. The paper lay spread before me when my phone rang aggressively. International number, 9 a.m. here, 4 p.m. in Rome. I let it ring twice before answering, no longer eager to please. Good morning, Celeste, I said, hearing her sharp intake. Dad, what did you do to the card? Immediately demanding no pleasantries. I removed your account access. Don't give me that. I tried paying for lunch and it was declined, in front of Darian's parents. Her voice could cut glass. The waiter came back 4 times. It was humiliating. That must have been embarrassing, I replied, sipping coffee. Embarrassing? It was mortifying. You can't do that. I need that card. For what? I thought you didn't need me taking care of you constantly. That's completely different. Her voice kept getting shriller with every word. Is it? There was quiet, and I could hear muffled talking in the background before she returned with poison in her tone. You fix this immediately or you'll face consequences. What consequences? Darian and I have been discussing things. When we return, we're researching care facilities. My coffee mug stopped halfway to my mouth. Care facilities? You're aging, Dad. You clearly can't manage your money responsibly. The cruelty in her words was shocking. We'll sell your house to cover the costs. You don't need all that room anyway. I heard Darian speaking behind her. Tell him it's for his benefit. Darian says it's for your benefit. I sat in extended silence, absorbing these threats. They wanted to put me in an institution and sell my home because I'd cut off their vacation spending. The nerve was incredible. Dad, are you there? Restore my card access. I heard everything. Good, so you'll handle it? No. What do you mean, no? I mean, no. Enjoy your family vacation. Dad, don't you dare. I ended the call and placed the phone face down. My hands stayed calm as I took a long drink of coffee, gazing out my kitchen window at my well-kept yard, this house I'd owned for 28 years, completely paid off with only my name on the deed, the house they imagined they could sell to stick me somewhere convenient. I got up with fresh determination, leaving my unfinished coffee, and headed toward my office with purposeful steps. There was business to handle. I retrieved my house deed from the filing cabinet, laying it on my desk like a strategy map, but it wasn't my deed I was examining. It was the second property document for Celeste and Darian's house on Oak Avenue, with my name alone on the title, exactly as it had been since I purchased it for them. I recalled that conversation 3 years back. Just for mortgage approval, sweetie. We'll switch it to our names once everything's finalized. They'd been too occupied with their lives for paperwork, always promising to handle it next month, next season, next year. I located Kai Nakamura's business card in my desk drawer. He'd sold me both properties, a reliable man who valued discretion. I grabbed my keys and left. The drive to his office took me through familiar Cedar Falls streets. Mrs. Patterson waved from her garden as I backed out, her friendly wave reminding me how ordinary this morning appeared. 20 minutes later, I parked at Nakamura Properties, located in a restored Victorian that Kai had renovated with clear care. Kai glanced up from his computer as I walked in, surprise and pleasure showing on his face. Fletcher, great to see you. How's retirement going? I need to sell the Oak Avenue property fast. He stopped, his experienced eyes catching something in my expression. The house you purchased for Celeste, is everything okay? Everything's fine. I just need it sold. What's the market doing? Kai turned to his computer, accessing comparable sales with professional skill. Market's strong right now. Properties like that in that area, $205,000, maybe $215,000. The figure pleased me. I'd paid $148,000 3 years ago. How fast are we talking? Kai asked. ASAP. Price it to sell. He pulled out listing forms, inspection schedules, his movements practiced and comforting. We'll need photos, possibly some staging. I can have my crew there tomorrow. The house has current occupants. Oh, will Celeste coordinate the showings? Celeste's in Italy. I have keys. Kai seemed slightly puzzled, but professionally accommodating. We covered listing price, commission, closing schedules. I signed the listing contract, my signature confident in, and final. I'll begin marketing right away, Kai said. In this market, we might have offers within days. We shook hands and I valued his professionalism, how he avoided unnecessary questions. Walking to my car, I felt lighter than I had in days. Classical music from my radio filled the quiet as I drove slowly through downtown Cedar Falls, viewing my hometown with fresh perspective. At a red light, a young family crossed the street, father holding a toddler, mother with a stroller. I remembered when Celeste was that age, before everything became about money and manipulation and what I could provide instead of who I was. I pulled into my driveway and sat briefly, looking at my mailbox with Brennan painted in faded letters. The name felt different now, meaningful again. I walked up my front steps, keys jingling, a sound promising more changes ahead. Inside, I opened my laptop to find an email from the real estate service. Property listed successfully appeared on screen, and I felt satisfaction seeing those words. But more work remained. I opened a new browser tab and searched Moving Services Cedar Falls, Iowa. Large corporate companies filled the first results, but I scrolled past them, seeking something personal and dependable. I found Brent's Reliable Moving, a sin with small opera reviews, solid reviews, family-owned for 12 years, the type of business where you speak to the owner, not a call center. I called the number, expecting exactly that. Brent's Moving. This is Brent. His voice was rough, direct, no company script. I need help moving some stuff tomorrow. It's urgent. What kind of schedule are we looking at? Tomorrow morning, if you can. It's a whole house full of things. Where are we going from and to? Brent asked. I gave him Celeste's address, explaining everything needed storage. Storage place set up? He asked, and I realized I hadn't arranged that yet. I can suggest Safekeep Storage on Pine Street, Brent continued. Work with them regularly. Need their number? Within minutes, I had Iris from Safekeep Storage on a three-way call, working out details. For a whole house, you'll need at least a 10 by 20 unit, Brent recommended. First month up front. That's $135, Iris said. I'll take it. Can someone meet us there tomorrow? Back with Brent, we settled the specifics. My truck and two guys, we can begin at 8:15 a.m. What's the address again? I gave Celeste's Oak Avenue address, adding, the people living there are traveling. I'd like everything finished before they get back. Got it. Family matter? Brent's voice suggested he'd handled these situations before. Something like that. Been through it myself. Will be quick and respectful. After finishing the calls and paying storage online, I cooked dinner with an appetite I hadn't had in days. I set my alarm for 6:30 a.m. earlier than my usual retirement routine and laid out work clothes, my old jeans and boots from my contractor days, before I became someone who paid for other people's dreams instead of chasing his own. I sat in my living room, watching evening news with fresh focus. The weather report showed clear skies, perfect for moving. Everything was coming together with a smoothness that felt both satisfying and meant to be. That night, I made sure my phone was charging, placing it on my nightstand beside a water glass. In the bathroom mirror, while brushing my teeth, I saw someone I hardly knew, someone prepared for action, someone who'd quit asking permission to control his own life. I got to the Oak Avenue property at 7:45 a.m., 15 minutes early, like always. The house I knew so well looked different now, not my daughter's home anymore, just a property that needed emptying. Brent's moving truck sat outside already, motor idling, steam showing in the cool morning air. Brent stepped out of the cab when I drove up, a solid man in his 50s with the no-nonsense attitude of someone who dealt with countless family dramas without judging. His two crew members, younger men in matching company shirts, were already pulling out equipment with smooth efficiency. Mr. Brennan? Brent offered a calloused hand. Ready to start? I opened the front door with my backup key, the house quiet and hollow in a way that seemed right. We went through each room, Brent evaluating furniture and belongings with expert eyes. This'll take about 3 hours, maybe 4 with the heavy stuff, he said, writing on his clipboard. I showed him what was Celeste and Darian's, which meant everything. The pricey sectional couch I'd gotten them last Christmas, Darian's fancy home office setup with gaming gear, Celeste's huge wardrobe filling 2 walk-in closets. The crew began with bedroom boxes, wrapping and marking with organized precision. I demanded to help despite Brent's concerns about insurance. I'm not that old, I said, getting a smile from one of the younger guys. Soon I was hauling boxes marked Celeste's books and Darian's sports gear, feeling odd satisfaction watching their stuff get packed away so systematically. In their bedroom closet, I discovered photo albums from their wedding. Looking through them, I noticed I was missing from most pictures. Darian's family featured in every shot while I showed up in maybe 2 photos, always on the sides. I shut the album and gave it to Brent's crew. Room after room, we cleared expensive things I'd forgotten buying them. Designer purses, electronics, the leather dining room set I'd bought for their first anniversary. My back began hurting, but I kept going, powered by purpose I hadn't felt in years. In what was meant to be a future nursery, I found baby furniture they'd hopefully put together for grandchildren that never happened. For a second, doubt snuck in. Was I being too cruel? Then I discovered Darian's credit card bills showing luxury spending while they cried poverty to me, and the doubt vanished entirely. You all right, Mr. Brennan? Brent asked, seeing my hesitation. Just remembering things. Let's continue. By 11:45 a.m., we completed our last check of the empty house. Rooms sounded different now, afternoon light pouring through naked windows onto bare floors. I locked up and kept the keys, following the moving truck to Safekeep Storage pouch, where I watched their belongings vanish into Unit 52C. I paid Brent cash, adding a big tip. Hope things work out for you, Mr. Brennan, he said with real warmth. Driving home alone, I saw my phone flash with a Facebook alert. I pulled into my garage, the device still buzzing in the cup holder, like a nagging reminder that my peaceful morning was about to get much more complex. Inside my house, I finally checked the buzzing phone to find several Facebook notifications. Celeste had posted furious status updates. Some people have no respect for family privacy. The comments showed friends asking what happened, with Celeste playing victim perfectly. I closed Facebook without answering and called Kai Nakamura back. Fletcher, excellent news. Kai sounded thrilled. We have a serious buyer. Cash offer. This fast? Young couple. Just moved here for jobs. They love the area. He paused dramatically. Offer is $208,000. Higher than expected. The number pleased me. When do they want to close? That's the thing. They want to close right away. They could move in this weekend if we can manage it. I looked at my calendar. Today was Thursday. This weekend? They're in a corporate apartment month to month. Very eager buyers. Kai's excitement was catching. Can you do fast closing? I can have documents ready by tomorrow. Make it happen. Friday morning found me at the title office, signing documents with careful precision. I met the buyers, Caspian and Nora Mercer, early 30s. The type of optimistic young couple that reminded me of Celeste and Darian before bitterness set in. We love what you did with the yard, Nora said during our final walk through the empty house. I didn't mention it wasn't my yard work. It's perfect, Caspian said, taking the keys. We can move in tomorrow morning? The bank transfer alert appeared on my phone. $208,000 minus realtor fees meant $192,000 profit. I'd turned my fatherly gesture into a solid business success. Saturday morning, I chose to drive by the property one final time. I arrived to see a U-Haul in the driveway, Caspian and Nora directing movers with contagious enthusiasm. A baby crib was going inside, young family beginning fresh in a house that had witnessed too much disappointment. I parked across the street, watching Nora plant flowers in the garden while Caspian built a swing set in the backyard. My phone rang with an international number, and I answered, just as a taxi pulled up to the house. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. Celeste climbed out of the taxi first, looking worn out from all that traveling, but instantly becoming alert when she saw what was happening in front of her. Darian handled paying the cab driver, and I watched his face go from being puzzled to completely alarmed as he took in the sight of that U-Haul truck and these strangers standing in what he thought was his own driveway. Hey, excuse me, Darian called out to Nora, who glanced up from where she was working in the garden with that friendly, curious look people get when they're interrupted. What exactly are you people doing in our house? Caspian stepped into the doorway, holding some official-looking paperwork in his hands. Your house? I think there might be some kind of misunderstanding here. I climbed out of my own car and walked steadily toward this whole scene that was unfolding, reaching into my jacket pocket to pull out an envelope I had prepared. Celeste caught sight of me standing there, and I watched her facial expression change from confusion to understanding to absolute rage in the space of about 3 seconds. Dad, what the hell is going on here? Why are there complete strangers moving around in our house? Celeste's voice had that razor-sharp edge to it that I had grown so tired of listening to over the years. Caspian and Nora gave each other those worried looks that people exchange when they suddenly find themselves in the middle of someone else's drama, and Nora was still gripping that gardening trowel in her hand like she might actually need to use it to defend her new home. Sir, I don't know who you think you are, Darian said to Caspian, his voice getting more aggressive by the second, but you need to pack up all your stuff and get out of here immediately. Caspian raised up his paperwork so Darian could see it clearly. I've got the deed right here in my hand. We completed the closing process yesterday. That's completely impossible. This house belongs to us. Nora's voice was quiet, but you could hear the determination in it. Maybe we should go ahead and call the police about this? I stepped forward at that point, letting my voice carry that calm, steady authority that I had developed during all those years when I was managing construction projects and dealing with difficult situations. That's not going to be necessary. Celeste's tone immediately became demanding, the way it always did when she expected me to jump in and fix whatever problem she was facing. Dad, you need to fix this situation. Right now. I spoke to Caspian and Nora first, because they were the innocent parties in all of this mess. I'm truly sorry for all this confusion you're having to deal with. Please go ahead and continue with moving into your new home. Then I turned my attention to Celeste and Darian, and my voice was steady and matter of fact. The house was sold because it belonged to me, not to you. Darian's face started turning that deep red color that meant he was getting really angry. What do you mean it belonged to you? That doesn't make any sense. If you check the original deed documents, you'll see it was never actually transferred into your names like you thought it was. Celeste's voice rose up to that familiar shrieking pitch that could probably shatter glass. You can't just go ahead and sell our home out from under us like this. I can absolutely sell my own property, I replied in an even tone, which is exactly what I did. This is nothing but theft, plain and simple. We're going to sue you for everything you're worth. Darian was practically screaming at this point, his face getting redder by the second. With what money are you planning to do that? I seem to remember that your credit cards got declined when you were living it up in Rome. Caspian leaned over and whispered something to Nora, and she nodded her agreement before they both started heading toward their front door. Their front door now, not Celeste and Darian's anymore. Please, just go inside and don't worry about this, I told them calmly. This whole situation doesn't concern you at all. Celeste's voice took on that desperate, frantic quality that I remembered from when she was a little girl and didn't get her way. Where are we supposed to live now? Where did you put all of our things? I held out the envelope that I had been carrying in my jacket pocket. Darian practically lunged forward and snatched it out of my hand, tearing it open with fingers that were shaking from anger. He read the contents out loud in a voice full of disbelief. Safe Keep Storage Facility, Unit number 52C, Pine Street location. Storage? Celeste's voice actually cracked when she said it. You took our entire life and put it in some storage unit? I made sure everything was preserved carefully and safely. The first month's rent has already been paid in full. Darian crumpled up the paper in his fist like it was garbage. This whole thing is completely insane. You can't do something like this to your own family. Real family doesn't exclude their own fathers from family vacations and call them needy. That's a completely different situation and you know it. Is it really, though? Darian took a step closer to me, trying to use his physical presence to intimidate me the way bullies do. We're going to fight this in court. We're going to challenge every single thing you've done. The sale is completely legal and above board. The property was mine from the very beginning. Celeste's voice changed again, taking on that manipulative tone that she had perfected since she was a child whenever she wanted something from me. How could you possibly do something this cruel to your own daughter? I looked at her for a long moment, really studying her face. How could you do what you did to your own father? Nora came back out of the house at that moment, and there was genuine concern written all over her face. Is everything going to be all right out here? Everything is perfectly fine, I assured her with a smile. I hope you and your husband enjoy your beautiful new home. Celeste and Darian were left standing there on the sidewalk, still holding their fancy Italian luggage in their hands, looking exactly like lost tourists who had somehow wandered into the wrong person's life story. I walked back toward my car with deliberate, measured steps, my old work boots making solid contact with the pavement beneath my feet. This whole thing isn't over, old man, Darian shouted at my back as I reached my car. I got behind the wheel and turned the key in the ignition, and my classical music station picked up exactly where it had left off when I parked. Yes, it absolutely is over. 3 months later, I was sitting at my kitchen table enjoying my morning newspaper and a fresh cup of coffee when my doorbell chimed. A process server was standing on my front porch, holding legal documents that turned out to be Celeste and Darian's lawsuit against me. I signed for the papers without feeling the slightest bit surprised that they had actually gone through with their threat. By that same afternoon, I was sitting in the exact same kitchen chair reviewing the court's official decision. Lawsuit dismissed. Property owner had full legal right to sell his own property. The judge had been extremely thorough in his review and completely unsympathetic to their various claims and arguments. Darian and Celeste were now responsible for paying their own attorney fees, which I imagined was going to be quite expensive for them. My own lawyer called me within an hour of the ruling. Clean victory, Fletcher. They don't have any grounds whatsoever for an appeal. The local newspaper even ran a small article about the whole situation. Family property dispute officially resolved. I filed all the paperwork in my new folder that I had labeled Legal Victory, and then I simply moved on with my day like it was any other day. The town's gossip network had been working overtime for months, buzzing with talk about the whole situation. When I stopped by the coffee shop, I couldn't help but overhear some of the conversations happening at nearby tables. I always thought that son-in-law of his seemed like an entitled brat. Other people were saying things like, Fletcher Brennan worked hard his entire life building up what he had. He deserved so much better treatment than what he got from those two. There were some disapproving voices that muttered things like, families should always stick together no matter what. But I had finally learned how to let other people's opinions just roll right off me, like water rolling off a duck's back. When I ran into Kai Nakamura at the hardware store a few days later, he asked me, "How are you holding up with everything that's happened?" "I'm doing better than I ever expected I would." That afternoon, I went to the pet store I had spotted months earlier. Ranger, a 3-year-old golden retriever, needed a new home because his family was relocating overseas. He's been with a family, great with people, enjoys car rides, the owner told me. And I crouched down and Ranger came right over, his tail wagging like he'd been waiting just for me. The bond was immediate. Ranger seemed to sense my loneliness, and I recognized his need for someone who wouldn't leave him behind. An hour later, Ranger was riding in my passenger seat, head hanging out the window, both of us driving towards something different. That first night, he slept beside my bed, and for the first time in months, neither of us was alone. With Ranger lying at my feet, I looked up travel trailers online. Best RVs for senior travel brought me to articles about freedom and adventure. At RV Lots, salespeople were happy to help. I test drove a 28-foot Airstream, the right size for one person and a dog who had already claimed the front seat before we even finished the paperwork. I used my second car's trade-in value plus my savings to buy it completely. Ranger took to RV living right away. We mapped our route: national parks, small towns, places I'd always wanted to visit but had put off for family duties. The morning we left Cedar Falls, my house was ready for a long absence. I had arranged mail holding and asked neighbors to check on the property. Loading the trailer, I packed camping equipment, Ranger's gear, and one photo album with pictures of Celeste as a child, before disappointment changed us both. Ranger could sense adventure ahead, his excitement spreading to me as I started the engine and checked the trailer hitch. We drove through Cedar Falls one final time, past familiar spots that seemed smaller now. Going by Oak Avenue, I saw Caspian and Nora's kids playing in the yard. The house was finally filled with the happiness it was designed for. The highway sign said Montana, 850 miles. Ranger had his head out the window, my hand firm on the wheel, both of us finally free. That evening, we pulled over at a scenic overlook in Montana. I set up a camping chair as the sun dropped behind the mountains, coloring the sky in orange and purple shades I'd never stopped to appreciate before. Ranger settled next to me, peaceful and faithful, wanting nothing more than friendship. For the first time in years, I was exactly where I was meant to be. To hear the next story, click the box on the left. And as always, thank you for watching.